Hey everyone, it's Marla, and I want to talk with you today about four important astrological aspects that are happening now into the summer that I feel are supporting twin flames in their work and coming into union. And they all have to do with asteroids. So I'm going to go through each of them one by one and talk a little bit about each one. But I feel that they really are working all together. So in a lot of ways, they're just different facets of the same energy. So I don't want you to think of them as being disconnected from each other, but being part of a whole. So the first one is Vesta retrograde in Virgo, squaring the nodal axis and opposing Neptune. And this has been happening for a while. I've been meaning to make a video about this for a while, but I just didn't get around to it. But she is retrograde in Virgo, and she went retrograde on January 20th. At 21 degrees Virgo. So there's a lot of twos and ones there again. And if you watched my last video on the Aquarius new moon, you know that twos and ones are about changing our perspective. So she started at 21 Virgo and she's going back to 6 degrees of Virgo, which is on April 21st. Okay. But Virgo to me is Vesta's sign. I don't know if technically the asteroids have a sign, but the way that I look at the energy, I feel Vesta connects a lot to Virgo. Because Vesta is about being of service and our dedication to service and about purity, which I relate to the energy of Virgo. But, of course, these things are open to debate. These are just the way that I see it. I also feel that Vesta is the asteroid goddess that correlates with twin flames the most because she represents the sacred sexual energies and our sacred fire. And that sacred fire feeds our purpose and our passions. So this transit for twin flames is going to be mostly around divine purpose because it is in the sign of Virgo, which is our service to the world. And it goes along with what I've been talking about in my other videos about us coming out of our shell and shining our light, being who we really are. Vesta is an asteroid that is about purification, especially purification by fire. She's the goddess of the home and the hearth. That's why she represents the sacred fire. But what else is happening with this transit is our frequencies are going up a lot because of the things that we're clearing and the activations that we're going to be getting from Vesta, including an activation of a new level of the threefold flame within our hearts. And that flame is the flame of love, power, and wisdom. And if you don't know about that flame or you don't know what I'm talking about, if you look at the profile picture for Twinstrology, you'll see that that's an image of a heart on fire with the threefold flame. And as we grow spiritually and as we evolve into the energy of love, then it combines with power and wisdom. And I should say right power and right wisdom, because it's when we're acting from the place of love that we treat power and wisdom consciously. So it's very important for twin flames to embody this energy. It's kind of more on a grounded way. How I feel that might get triggered in us during this transit is we might be facing power issues with other people trying to control us or manipulating us, or perhaps some of you may have to come to terms with where you act out in a way that you are subconsciously trying to control people or things. Your wisdom might get triggered, and you're needing to continue to work on trusting your inner wisdom. And of course, that is connected to your purpose. And the love is coming through with this deeper heart awakening and a deeper embodiment of the divine feminine goddess energy. And I feel like 2021, it is a big year for the divine masculine, but it's also a big year for the divine feminine too. And I think I'll be talking a lot about the divine feminine energies as we go through this year. Vesta is opposing Neptune right now, and this is taking our sexual energy and transforming it through alchemy into a place of this deep, unconditional love. So you can, you may be experiencing purification around sexual energy. And in some ways, like the things that you used to like may not work for you anymore because your consciousness is going higher, your vibration is going higher. And those things will, in some ways, fall away. They won't be in alignment with you because you start to act more from your soul than your ego. And your soul is not going to be satisfied with casual encounters or fake relationships that don't truly have intimacy, but only have like this illusion of intimacy. And a lot of people that are in the 3D reality, they really confuse intimacy and sexuality. And that's a big thing that twins are here to purge and cleanse so that we really reconnect with what true intimacy is in the most deepest way. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. I do have to make notes these days, so I, especially with Mercury retrograde. But I'm also trying to read my notes because I was kind of scribbling because I took like 8 to 10 pages of notes for the astrology coming up yesterday. So the desire to be of service is really what is driving us, and our heart is igniting that fire within to increase that drive. With having to balance with the Neptune energy, then you're needing to make sure that you're finding balance with your service, because on the flip side, that Pisces energy, you can be too giving. You might need to find that you need to create boundaries with people is what I'm trying to say. So the next aspect that I want to talk about is the asteroid Juno, and Juno is conjunct the asteroid Union, and these two asteroids are going to be conjunct to each other all year. I went all the way until January 2022, and it looks like they start separating around that time, but I didn't have the time to look at it any further. But not only are these two working together, but they're also spending a lot of time on the South Node. So once again, we have the South Node activated, or I should say the nodal axis. Now with Vesta being square the nodes, right, that is another indication that she's pushing us towards our destiny because she is squaring the north node of the moon. And when a planet is squaring the north node of the moon, it's telling us that we need to make this transition from our south node thinking to our north node thinking, or we need to work through some kind of trauma or some place where we haven't integrated this energy from the past, and we need to rework that now. So it's going to vary for person to person depending on what your past life issues are. So Juno and Union, they are going to be in Sagittarius until November. They go retrograde in April, just a few days apart from each other in 1 degree. So they're really sticking to each other tightly. And by June, they are going to be back on the south node until August. So basically what I'm saying is they're on the south node right now, and at the Aquarius new moon, they're almost exact. The two of them are on 16. The south node is at 17 degrees. So they stick with the south node for a while, then they begin to separate because the south node goes counterclockwise. It goes in reverse. But then Juno and Union go retrograde together, and they go all the way back to the south node of the moon before they go forward again. So from June to August, they will also be on the south node. So as you can imagine, this is going to bring up karmic stuff. And Juno is the goddess of relationships. She is Jupiter's spouse. So she is, at least in the Greek pantheon, in the Roman pantheon, she's a very high goddess, being Jupiter's wife. But, in that mythology, she's not really looked on in that great of a light. But, we have to expand kind of our vision here with some of these asteroids and the myths. So basically what I'm getting with this asteroid is a lot of problems with twin flames revolve around past life issues. Now, when I first looked at this aspect, I thought, oh, this has something to do with the karmic partners, because it's like Juno and Union, and for many twins, their union is being blocked because of a karmic partner, or it would appear so, but I think that's one of the ways where we need to change our perceptions, because what my guides told me was, no, that's not really the case. What is blocking twin flame unions is this past life fear that we have and the separations that we've struggled through, the loss and the grief when one or the other was killed or you couldn't be together. And gosh, so many painful experiences. And those of you that have done past life work, you know some of the very traumatic situations. Now, I do QHHT with people, so I regress people all the time. And when they're a twin flame, always some kind of traumatic life of separation with their twin comes up as something that they need to heal to go forward. So this is a very, very important issue for all of us. And we need to understand that whether this energy is conscious in us or not, it's there. And what happens is the twin flames teeter back and forth. And it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because there's this inner fear that's creating subconscious blocks. Basically, what we're talking about is running. And it comes down to inner insecurities based on these karmic situations. And then the energy can get stuck or get very slowed down. And, speaking of the karmics, it's a lot easier for people to stay with a karmic partner because the deep feelings, and even though there's trauma with our soulmates too, I'm laughing because I'm thinking, a lot of times it's our soulmate that caused trauma for us, and we're trying to work that trauma out. But yeah, I don't want to be too negative on the karmics, but there's not as much mirroring involved. So it can be a more comfortable relationship in the sense that you can hide your insecurities better. And I'm choosing that word hide carefully because it's not like your insecurities aren't there or that your karmic partner doesn't trigger your insecurities, but you're able to wear a mask more with your karmic partner, and they don't see into you as deeply, so they don't see the wounds and the fears and the pain that you're carrying, where your twin will see that in you. So this stuff, as you can imagine, needs to be fixed. So yeah, it's important to understand that this is affecting both twins. Both are carrying these wounds. And this transit is definitely being supported by these three other transits and helping everything process as we release these old karmic issues. And a lot of these things, even though they seem to relate to our twin, you can imagine that they also relate to you as a light worker and being able to shine your light in the world, because oftentimes there's trauma in the separation, as where one or both of you have been killed for being different, or for the things that you were saying, or your spiritual beliefs, or your spiritual powers even. And that is all stored subconsciously. And it's interesting that Uranus is being so activated this year as well, because a lot of those deep memories are contained in Uranus. That's our like deep cellular memories. And of course, Saturn is karma. So we can see how even that Saturn-Uranus square can be facilitating these other healings that I'm talking about. So what I feel, or I hope this transit is going to bring twin flames, is this realization about separation. And understanding that really this relationship is so very precious. It's much too precious to be keeping ourselves in separation because of our own inner insecurities. And if we can see that, then we have this change in perspective that allows us to move forward and not stay in that teeter-tottering, or that 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of, well, I don't want to say slow, because really everything's happening in divine timing. So we have to release any kind of linear thinking about time. But I am being shown that this creates forward momentum for twins, and it helps us get the emotions under control, which is a priority, which I talked about in my last video. So this transit, like I said, is going to go into next year. So it's not a quick fix type of energy, but it demands some deep psychological work on these wounds, because we can't gloss over these things anymore. And yeah, remember that these things will be mirrored between the two of you. So the inner work starts with you. Like I said, when I first took a look at this transit, saw that it was happening, my first thing was there's something coming up with the karmic partners, because we're dealing with the South Node and having to clear something within ourselves. But what the guide said to me was, if we can actually get rid of these insecurities that are keeping us stuck, then what happens is twin flames begin to work more and more in harmony with each other as far as what they're manifesting. And once that gets completely aligned with none of these blockages, then the karmic relationships just they just fade out. They just that person is going to heal, and it will just very easily find its way on. So it's all about a mindset here with all these things that are happening. The third transit is Eros opposed Psyche, and they are going to be exact on Valentine's Day. How sweet is that? And this transit is elevating the energetic connection for twin flames, and it's syncing up the frequencies of the union. Eros and Psyche activate a lot of our telepathy, so you might have a deeper connection, maybe temporary or it may be long-lasting depending on where you are. You may be dreaming about your twin at this time as well. And I'm being shown that, again, these deep memories of the past are being activated for twin flames at this time. And those memories relate to the twin flame soul connection and the contracts that are there. Now, this one, of course, is happening now, but the total energy of this Eros Psyche activation culminates in May, when they once again oppose each other from Cancer and Capricorn. And like I said, they're working with these other aspects. So the way that I've learned to think about astrology that maybe will help some of you is it's not about a transit and then we're done. So Eros and Psyche, they're opposing each other for a few days and we feel something, and then those transits separate and that energy's gone. Those transits create an activation. And even though the planets separate, the activation of the energy is still there and it's still at play. And people are going to connect with that activation in their own way and the right time that's for them. So, for example, this aspect is happening now. And so maybe some of you that have been activated in your twin flame union for many years are going to feel this more than someone that has never met their twin or doesn't know their twin yet, or they only just met their twin, so everyone's at different phases, stages, and but the activation is there, the change is happening in the energy, and then once that happens, then people can tap into that energy whenever they need to. So the fourth and final transit that I want to mention is from our old friends, Osiris and Horus. So I did the video in December about Isis, Osiris, and Horus conjunction. This is phase 2 of that. Now, Isis and Horus separated from Osiris and moved forward, but now Osiris has caught up to Horus while Isis is moving on. So Isis and Horus are traveling together until mid-July, and they're in Pisces now. Actually, they're in Aquarius right now. They're not too far off the new moon, actually, and they will be traveling together to the end of Aries. And this transit is really about the divine masculine energy. And you can see that externally in your twin, and you can see that internally within your own divine masculine energy. But there's an awakening activation for the divine masculine. Remember, Horus is our third eye chakra, and that's where that awakening comes from. But they're also getting a deeper understanding of who they are, as far as they are gods of transformation, which is Osiris. This is a rebirthing of the Osiris energy into the divine masculine collective. Just like the goddess energy was activated and rebirthed, earlier to activate the goddess energy, we're going through these activations and rebirth of the divine masculine energies as well. So I feel this one is really about Osiris. And this is going to help the divine masculine step deeper into their manifestation powers and releasing any fears that have been blocking them from their manifestations, which, as you can see, goes with the other transits that I talked about. Because like I said, with the Vesta and the Juno transits, our energies are aligning more and more, emerging, and it feels like you're totally one right now, but it will continue to go higher. And when you're on that same high frequency, it's so much easier to manifest things. And I don't think maybe everyone realizes that the sacred sexual energies of manifestation, and that's very much associated with twin flames in union. But you actually have that power even if you're not in union in the third dimensional frequencies, because all you need is your energies to be fully aligned and to have the right blocks removed. And I also feel that the divine masculine through that Osiris-Horus transit is getting that feeling of being called home to their divine feminine. And I'm trying to remember more of the myth. I have so many myths in my head from all this astrology and stuff. But like what I'm thinking of, what I'm getting is like how Isis healed Osiris and assisted him in his transformation. And that's part of their deep bond. And I feel like the divine masculine are going to be feeling that. So, yeah, I talked about that manifestation and the fluidity of our manifestations as we go through this. And so my last note here is that energy of awakening and reconnecting with their Osiris energy is likely to lead the divine masculine into having to make some choices in their life. So keep those transits in your thoughts, how they might be affecting you. I might be talking about them more as we go through and talk about the new moons and the full moons and the solstices and equinoxes and all of those things. If you would like a personal astrology reading, you can visit me at Twinstrology or a tarot reading, or if you want to have a past life regression, I think it would be perfect time for that. Sending you guys a lot of love, and I will speak to you soon. Namaste.